Welcome to In the DAWG House with Tim and Scott, brought to you by the law offices of Gary Martin Hayes and Associates, 1-800-WIN-WIN-1. My name is Tim Cicerelli from My Country 99.3 WCON. And as always, every single week, joining us is the voice of the Georgia Bulldogs, Friends of Radio, Georgia Hall of Famer, Scott Howard. And hello, there he is. And Gary Martin Hayes, our sponsor himself. We're old friends from years ago. We did radio years ago. We figured we'd just reunite here on a podcast and talk some Georgia football. And boy, what a big week we have coming up, and a lot to talk about as we get ready for some clean old-fashioned hate. But first, we got to talk about a few things. That practice game we had on Saturday between the hedges. And before we do that, did you get a package left on your porch from Gary Martin Hayes? There it is.
I did.
Did you open it? Because I haven't opened mine yet.
I did not.
All right,
the
Chris,
instructions were not to.
That's right. All right, so Chris,
I follow instructions.
Well, I'm impressed.
Well, those weren't my instructions. They were the instructions of the party that sent me a cease and desist letter. Yeah, the folks at Mississippi State were upset when they heard you maligning their press elevator.
Well, then I think I might know what it is as we shake it.
Yeah, you said it had a god-awful stench and smelled like someone died in it, and to mask the odor at the end of the game, someone put urinal cakes in the corner.
All true.
Since I'm the lawyer on this, they sent me the cease and desist letter, and they wanted damages. Now, I was able to negotiate a settlement here that's not going to require any kind of money out of your pocket, which I thought was good. But if you want to go ahead and open it.
All right.
Yeah, the damages were done to that carpet in the elevator. I can tell you that.
Well,
we're opening these now?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to I don't know I have an idea what it could be based upon. So, by the way, go back and listen a couple episodes ago where Scott talks about it. Yeah. All right, I'm going to wait to open.
I'm trying to smell. Is it urinal cakes? Those are my favorite after-meal snack, by the way.
Well, good, because you got some chowing to do, Scott Howard. Go ahead and open that thing up, because I've got mine open. Oh,
New from Hostess, urinal cakes. Little Debbie's urinal cakes.
And Scott Howard on the urinal cake right there.
Now, the deal was we were supposed to put this in the urinal in the press area at Sanford Stadium, and Hondo was going to do it for us, but he said, y'all don't have urinals up there. You just have 4 co-ed bathrooms. But
yeah, don't put these in the toilet. That might you might have to call a plumber.
I'll just use these at home. These will be popular with my kids.
You know what? It's a good gag gift, right, for Christmas. All right, there we go. It looks like a cup, actually, doesn't it? I mean, from back in the day when we were actually playing the sports and not calling it on the radio. All right.
Okay. Perfect your aim.
Everybody hold it up.
People who'd like to take advantage of this.
Well, for those that do, go to ppface.com.
Man, you have so much time on your hands.
Aren't you out there, fighting the insurance companies, Gary, saving families, getting them the compensation they deserve? But I guess he has so much time.
I didn't want Scott to have to come out of pocket, any money for damages.
It's a good friend you have right here, Scott Howard, I'm telling you.
Settlement for you, Scott.
That's terrific. Thank you. There's a similar story when Tom Crean was basketball coach at Georgia. We used to do his weekly radio show at one of the dining halls on campus. We were trying to, generate student interest, and so we were in the lobby doing his call-in show, his talk show each week, and in the lobby area of Bolton Dining Hall, there are restrooms out there. So I went into the restroom after one of the shows that we did, and in the urinals, somebody had placed, I don't know, probably about that big. It was a sticker of the Florida Gator logo, and they put it in,
Target
in
practice.
the urinal.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So you could always, you're always thinking of the Gators. And I just thought that was the funniest thing. I took a picture. I had it on my phone for a long time, and
Make that your
I
wallpaper.
showed it to everybody. It's like, hey, look what's in the Bolton dining hall toilet.
I think I might hang it from my rear view mirror. What do you think? That might be the deodorize the car a little bit.
The one thing that's that would be worth it would be to get rid of that picture too. So that's not one of my better photos.
Christmas comes early. Scott Howard on a urinal cake. The Hall of Fame thing, whatever. This is what it's all about right here, man.
Yes.
You have made it.
Can we mass produce these?
Peepeeface.com. Is that what it was? Well, so now, with Christmas just over a month away, or a month away from today at the time of this recording, holy smokes, I better get rolling on the Christmas shopping. I think that's going to be
You got it right there. Gary's got
the gag gift for everybody's going to get their own personal urinal cake on peepeeface.com. Our newest sponsor of the In the DAWG House with Tim and Scott, along with Gary Martin Hayes. Well, thanks, Gary. That was fun and funny. And Scott, I want you to send pictures to us on how you're going to utilize your this honor that you have. Where you're going to put it.
Yeah, there won't be any photos with this. I can guarantee you that.
All right, let's shift gears and talk a little football. A bit to talk about from last Saturday's game with the Charlotte 49ers. I mean, it was fun to watch. It was a great day at the stadium. The rain came in earlier, but they finally moved out of there. And so a lot of my friends on social media were posting their photos where they were taking several kids to the game. It was one of those games you could afford tickets to take 4 or 5 people as opposed to some of the other big games. But I will tell you, Gunnar got sacked, and he got up a little gingerly, and I was like, oh, no. Did we jinx him when we talked about this? And, of course, he was fine. But other than that, Scott, what do you got to talk about against the 49ers from Charlotte?
Well, we, this is sitting on my desk, this big paperweight thing, says Dad on it. We did stone them. We stoned the heck out of
yes,
Charlotte.
Well, they scored what? How many points? 3 points? Is that right? They got 1 field goal?
Yeah, it was 35-3.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot uglier than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, it was a team that was completely overmatched.
It was like a high school team. I hate to say it that way. And I mean, it was. That's an exaggeration. But we said last week in the episode, would they get? They got well over $1 million to come.
1.9.
1.9, almost $2 million to get their butts kicked big time. But I'm sure it was pretty awesome for those kids to get between the hedges and enjoy that environment.
Yeah, for a lot of those guys. I mean, that was, I would assume, even though the stadium, now the game was announced as a sellout, but, the stadium wasn't completely full.
Yeah.
But I would imagine I think that was the largest crowd. I never heard the actual attendance, but I think it's probably the largest crowd most of those guys have played in front of. They had played Clemson a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily that team, but that program had played at Clemson. So they've played in a big stadium before. But, their stadium is significantly smaller than that. And, doesn't seat anywhere near 93,000. So, it had to be, it has to be fun in there. Sometimes you see guys from other teams that if it's their first visit to Athens and Sanford Stadium, when they walk out initially on the field, not for warm-ups, but when they arrive at the stadium, and a lot of guys do a walk around the field, there's a lot of picture taking going on. And,
yeah.
They're just kind of taking in the sights. So it's an experience for those guys as well, in addition to being there to play a football game. So it's a moment that they probably won't forget.
And they're competitors, and knowing you're playing the number 4 team, even though the odds are highly stacked against you, how great to compete against one of the best, honestly. I mean, that just must be terrific for them, except for the score, 35-3. But, I mean, just to get out there and line up with them must have been a big thrill for those kids.
They probably have some stories to tell when they're, got their grandkids sitting on their lap and they're, They're telling them about ppface.com and their old days at Sanford Stadium.
Well,
it was a moral victory for Charlotte because the point spread was 44.5.
oh, well, there we go. So they got that going for them.
Gary to find the silver lining.
That's right. Well, Georgia now 48 consecutive wins against unranked teams. So that was a great little warm-up. Get the reps in and get ready for this week, a big week. And before we jump into the clean old-fashioned hate, Gary Martin Hayes, let's shine the spotlight on you, my friend. First of all, thank you for your sponsorship of this podcast. I love getting together with the two of you every single week, talk Georgia football, and do silly stuff like this. I mean, that's so, Gary, you help Georgia families, and why don't you let our friends on the other side of the speakers know what they can do in the event that they are injured in a car wreck or any other type of injury?
Yeah, God forbid you're in the car wreck or wreck with a tractor trailer. The last thing you need to do is try and take on the insurance company and their lawyers by yourself. A lot of the guys you see on TV, you see on billboards, you're on the radio, they don't even live here, don't have a license to practice law here. I'm here every day. We've recovered more than $1 billion. I've been doing this for 36 years, wrote the books on Georgia law for other attorneys, so we'd be happy to help.
1-800-WIN-WIN-1, GaryMartinHayes.com will have the phone number and the link in the episode notes. We got a lot to talk about Georgia Tech, so why don't we just go through the injuries first?
Yeah, and remember, there's no injury report this week because it's not an SEC matchup. Linebacker C.J. Allen and running back Chauncey Bowen both sat out on Saturday. They left the game against Texas with injuries. Hopefully, they'll be back in the lineup this week. And center Drew Bobo and tackle Ernest Green, they did not play on Saturday. Bobo injured his hand, and Green just needed the rest to get healthy, so hopefully they will be back. And for Georgia Tech, the long snapper Will Benton is out and questionable. We had defensive end Andre Fuller and wide receiver Dean Patterson.
Well, this is the game that both teams have circled on their calendar. No matter what the record is, no matter what they're ranked, this is clean old-fashioned hate. This is a rivalry between the Georgia Bulldogs, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, one of college football's most storied and heated, dating back to November 4th, 1893. The notes I have here in front of me, Georgia leads the series with 72 wins to 41 for Tech, 5 ties. And the Tech's longest winning streak was 8 in a row, and that was 100 years ago almost. In 1949 to 1956, 2014, Tech and Georgia both ranked, and Georgia won a triple overtime thriller. But I will always remember last year because I was there. I was freezing. I was at the top of the stadium. And I was loving the fact that it was a close game and loved it even more that we won after 8 overtimes. That was bananas. And that last touchdown was right in front of me. It was incredible. So, Scott, you head into the Benz this Friday, an early game this week.
Yeah, and a couple of things of what you just said I want to comment on. First of all, do the players actually have calendars anymore that they actually circle? Isn't this your calendar now?
It's pretty much is, yes.
The other thing was you had crummy seats for the game last year. If you sat, that touchdown was right in front of you.
I did. I was way up there, but it was the other side. But you know what? I'll be honest. You say crummy seats. I like it up there. I could see everything. I don't like it when it's on the other end of the field. I enjoy that view of the stadium, and then if I miss it, I can just see what's up there. It's just a beautiful view. But it was remarkable. It was one of those great moments I shared with my son. He's a Georgia graduate, awesome. and so we had an amazing night out there, and we'll never forget that. It was terrific. 8 overtimes. Is that a record? That has to be.
Yeah, I don't really remember a lot of it, to be honest, and I haven't gone back and listened to it, but I mean, once we got into the one-play overtime things, the 2-point conversions, it's like, from overtime 3 until Nate Frazier got the winning score, it all kind of just runs together. I mean,
but just anxiety-ridden. My gosh. I mean, first of all, you don't want to lose to Tech alone, but then to lose like that in our house would have just been demoralizing, but it wasn't. We chanted all the way out of the stadium. It was incredible.
It was quite emotional there at the end. I think there was some crying on the other sideline, perhaps. And So there, dang,
No.
there was some.
It's clean old-fashioned hate, Scott.
Side and, what's that?
It's clean old-fashioned hate, Scott. I want him to cry.
True. That's true. All right, no holds barred. There were tears of joy on one side and tears of sadness and sorrow on the other. And you mentioned the winning streak in the series, and Georgia's won 7 in a row now. So if the Dogs win on Friday, that would be 8, and that would equal the longest winning streak in the series, which Tech has right now.
Right.
And that was such a big game that Tech won 8 in a row. I think it was from the late 40s into the 50s, and Georgia won in, was it 1956? Maybe they won 7-0. And the man that scored that touchdown in that game that ended the drought was named Theron Sapp, and Georgia retired his jersey. He's one of 4 players.
That's a big deal.
At school that has a jersey that's retired. That's how big this game is. You scored a touchdown against Tech to end the drought. We're going to retire your jersey.
Well, so let's talk about the rivalry a little bit, and before we get into the X's and O's, and what the matchup's going to look like, because Georgia Tech, they have a really good team this year. And so is it because, listen, I was born and raised in Southern California, and then I came here in the early 90s and learned about this rivalry and then jumped on the bandwagon. It's just because it's in state. We're trying to find the same, recruiting the same players, but from you, a Bulldog, not just the voice of the Bulldogs, you went to Georgia. Talk about the rivalry to you. What does it mean to you?
It's different for me because, and I think this story is out there, but I didn't necessarily grow up in a Georgia household.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was born in Georgia and raised in inner city Atlanta back in the 30s and 40s. And not necessarily a great section of Atlanta, but near the Georgia Tech campus. Yeah. So, as a youngster, he grew up and he went to O'Keefe High School, which is part of the Tech campus now, right there off Interstate 75, 85. Oh, the downtown connector. It's bumper to bumper on the downtown connector.
Hey, I do that several times a day. Don't be making fun.
Give it to me. Come on, let me hear it.
No, you got to tune into My Country 99.3 if you want the goods. That's what's going to happen.
Do it from the chopper, Tim.
I might do that today on the show. I'll do it from the chopper.
Hey, we're the only chopper in the air today.
So your dad grew up in Georgia Tech area. Yeah.
My dad was a Tech fan growing up.
Mm.
Now that didn't wear off on me, thank goodness. So we lived in Nashville, Tennessee for a long time when I was a little fella, and then we moved back to Georgia. And on that move back to Georgia, I was, I don't know, 11, 12, something like that. Is in the 70s at some point. Dad bought season tickets to the Georgia Tech game, so I used to go. I
didn't know that about you. That's cool. What a great story.
Brag about it.
Wow.
The reason I wanted to go is so I could eat at the varsity every Saturday.
That's right.
We'd go to the varsity there on North Avenue.
Of course.
Get lunch before the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I saw a lot of 1970s Georgia Tech football. But I like football and I like college football, but Georgia Tech wasn't my thing. So
yeah,
fortunately it worked out for me. But so that's kind of how, I viewed the series, as my dad was a Tech fan. And until we got season tickets there in the 70s, that was the one game that I would go to as a kid. On the schedule, it was the Georgia Tech game. I'm trying to think of the first one I ever went to in person. I know the first one I went to in Athens was in 1974, and that was a miserable game. The weather was awful. It was cold. It was raining, and Georgia lost the game, which made me even more sad.
Yeah,
those are some of the early memories that I had of the series, and there were some great comebacks. In the 70s, later 70s, and with Buck Bellew in 1978, and Georgia came from behind to win that game. And 1976, Alan Levitt kicked a field goal at the end of the game, and Georgia won 13-10. I think I was sitting in those same seats where you were for
for the overtime
last
last
year's
year,
overtime game, way back in like 1976. But some of those early games kind of dot my memory banks back in the day before I went to college, and there's been some fun moments, and Georgia's had a lot of success against Tech under Kirby Smart, and hopefully they have a little bit more this weekend.
Scott, you're talking about how your dad took you to Georgia Tech games, and it just occurred to me that maybe I should share this story, and maybe I shouldn't. My earliest Georgia Tech memory is one of humiliation, and I'm about to be humiliated again by admitting this to Scott Howard and Gary Martin Hayes and whomever might be listening to this podcast. I'm a huge Georgia fan. I became a fan in the early 90s because I'm from Southern California. I could have cared less about college football growing up. I was a Dodger fan, and that was it, a Los Angeles Dodger baseball fan. So I was hired at the radio station where you and I worked, Scott, and we were the voice of the Georgia Bulldogs. Well,
Right.
Years before, when I was back in California, before I got into radio, I had a pool service business in Southern California. And I started the pool service with a guy by the name of Garrett. His name is Garrett with a G. My name is Tim with a T. And I came to visit my dad in Georgia one year, and I see this hat that is the same colors of my company, Georgia Tech colors, with G and T on it. So I thought, oh my gosh, that's my company. I'm just going to buy that hat. So I go back to California, and for years, I have so many photos of me in a Georgia Tech hat. But really, I'm like, it's GT Pool Service in Southern California. Fast forward a few years, I'm hired at the radio station where you and I worked, and I was working on weekends. And this was not during football season. But you might remember on the weekends, we'd have a very famous visitor. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know who he was. But I was in charge of recording this visitor for Inside Sports. It was a segment he had at the radio station where we worked. And it was on the weekend. So you might remember from the studio, if someone rang the doorbell, we would go, nobody else was there. I opened the door, and I had to go record this visitor. And I opened the door, and this visitor looks in my head, and he said, "What in God's name is on your head?" And that visitor was Vince Dooley. I didn't know who Coach Dooley was. I just knew that I had to record this guy coming in on the production room that you remember. So he was just bewildered, and I didn't know. I mean, I just wore the hat. I was new, clearly, right? So we record him, and, Mr. Dooley, or as now we refer to him as Coach, was super nice. But he said, "Can I see that hat?" And he took my hat and left. And I'm like, that's my hat. Like, I wore that for you. He left with my Georgia Tech hat. Now, I should have known better, but I didn't. I didn't know we were the voice of Georgia Bulldogs. I was brand spanking new working weekends at that radio station. And I'm a little upset because that hat kind of meant a lot to me for some reason. Well, because
he took your hat.
He took my hat. Who does that, right? The following week, you remember our cubby holes in the reception area back there in front of Larry's? So where we had there was my Georgia Tech hat and a new Georgia hat. And he had a note that said, "Burn this on Georgia Tech." And so that was one of my. So I got Coach to sign my years later when I became a Georgia fan by working with you, and we were the voice of Georgia Bulldogs, and I got to know Larry Munson very well and Coach Dooley and Barbara very well, and just became this fan. But I kept that hat. I finally threw that hat away when I moved to Colorado, the Georgia Tech hat. And but I kept the Georgia hat, and I had Coach sign it and Munson sign that for me. But it's a little humiliating that I did that. But that was a special moment. That's my first Georgia Tech memory, and there are so many photos of me in that Georgia Tech hat because that was my company hat. So there's my Georgia Tech story and how it all began, and finally threw that thing away. Now, though, I don't wear blue and gold at the same time. So there's mine. What about you, Gary? I know that any Georgia Tech stories from your side?
No, don't really have many, but I do have a question for Scott. Some of these rivalries are built off of what happened in the past. Do you guys at Georgia consider Georgia Tech your biggest rival, or is it another team?
That probably depends on who you ask.
Good question.
Some people feel like Tech is, but since that's a non-conference game now, and many others feel like your main rival is in the conference, be it Florida or Auburn or Tennessee or Georgia's got so many.
Mm-hmm.
I think this time of year you'd be hard pressed to find people who didn't agree that this is the biggest rival game. When we're playing Florida, they may not feel like that, but when we get to this week, it's certainly big. It's a long-lasting rivalry. It's in state. It's the whole deal. The two biggest schools with the biggest football programs in the state going against each other. So again, it probably just depends on the individual as to which team they feel like is Georgia's biggest rival. You'll get a lot of different answers for that question.
And it depends on the season too.
The network thinks it's big enough because last week you guys played on the Hallmark Channel. This week is going to be on ABC.
Well, last year, as I said, there was a lot of crying after the game. Maybe that game should have been on the Hallmark.
Well, the fervor around the stadium it's just elevated when Tech comes to town. I've never been to Georgia Tech, but I've been to several Georgia Tech games at Sanford Stadium, and now we're at the Benz. Is it going to stay that way?
No, I don't. It's not a permanent move. This is a financial move by Georgia Tech. It's their home game. This is a financial situation for Georgia Tech. It was a way for them to pad their athletic department with a lot of money.
Sure.
So it's a smart move on their part, I think. I mean, the stadium is larger, so there's more ticket sales. They got involved with a company that's promoting the game, so it becomes a money-making venture for Georgia Tech. I don't think the plan is to play this when they have the home game, to play it in Mercedes-Benz every year. I mean, that could change, but why would you want to do that? Why would you want to take it out of your home stadium every year?
No, I don't like
maybe if they do it, if they alternate it, if it works out well for them, and they alternate it on an occasion, then that's a good process to earn a lot of extra money. But I mean, I the number that was being tossed about that they were paid to move this game was like $10 million. So it's
how do you turn that away? Yeah.
All right. Is the team going to spend the night in Atlanta, or do they get the Daniels kid to drive them in a bus going 150 miles an hour from Athens to Atlanta in the morning?
I know nothing.
Leave it to Gary to bring it up.
Yeah.
I think they found an Econo Lodge on the Phillips Highway somewhere. So they'll probably
are all booked.
They'll probably stay there. Oh,
well, we know this: he won't be on the team bus, so there's that. So just done anymore. All right. Well, I actually don't care then if it's at the Benz every time Georgia Tech hosts it. Their stadium's tiny, so great. As long as we keep it at Sanford Stadium for us, I was just a little worried. I didn't read into it. I didn't know if this was going to be one of those things they're going to do from now on because it's such a big game. But I like it when it's here between the hedges, and we'll have that next year.
One of the advantages of not playing at Bobby Dodd Stadium, that's an old stadium. I mean, it's one of the oldest in college football. Mercedes-Benz has new facilities.
It's an awesome place. Yeah, it's great.
In Grant Field at Bobby Dodd Stadium. Now, I don't know if they've changed this because I haven't been underneath the stadium in a while. But they used to, in the men's rooms, they used to have troughs.
The troughs, like the old Dodger Stadium I was telling you about all those years.
You could put these in the trough, bring your own, and just go to town.
And they would fill those troughs with ice. Do you remember that?
Yes. It's gross. You got to like nuzzle up between somebody. And I mean, I'm glad are they still there? There's no way that's even still used. You think it's an old stadium, maybe, but if there are any women listening at this point, they're like, what is a trough? What are you talking about? It's literally a trough.
Yeah. I mean, it is what we are saying it is. That's where the guys go to the bathroom. At least one version. There are some really dumb guys that actually sit in the trough.
Depends on how many beers they had at the game, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You and I, Scott, were accused many years ago from some program directors that we used to have too much potty humor on our show. And I think these last few episodes, man, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Actually.
Well, yeah, Gary started this way, so it's his fault. ppface.com.
We're selling merch now.
Oh, man. Well, that's not a bad idea, actually.
Right? Hey, another sponsor. That's more money. We'll take them.
Mercedes has upgraded facilities, so hopefully no troughs there for the fans.
There aren't.
On Friday, day after Thanksgiving. It's going to be a great crowd, and hopefully it's a good ball game. Tech stayed in the rankings this week, even though they lost to Pitt last week.
Yeah.
So they're down in the, what are they, 22 or 23, whatever they're ranked.
I have them here at 23 is what I'm looking at. But you see 19, Gary?
I had 19th on one of the polls.
6, 7.
Yeah, 6, 7. Another call back from last week's episode. Yeah, because if there's some kids listening in the back while mom or dad are driving, they'll do the whole thing on them. Carrie Underwood had a great response. Every time the kids do 6, 7, the adults should immediately say 5309 because it follows right after, and then they'll drop them bananas.
6, 7,
you got it. Yes.
Well,
Tommy Two-Tone. That's right. Jenny. That's right. Great song nonetheless. All right, so they're a good ball club. We're certainly favored to win. What is the spread on this one, do you think? I haven't looked that up, guys. Have you taken a look and see what that is? What we're favored by?
I think it's 13 or something, 13 and a half, whatever it is.
14.
Somewhere around 2 touchdowns.
A couple touchdowns. All right. It's going to be a great game, and I can't wait to talk about our victory next week. And then before we bounce out of here, let's talk a little bit about how it looks for the SEC championship game. What has to happen for Georgia to get in there, even though I know a lot and more Georgia fans are jumping on the bandwagon if we don't want to play in that game. But it looks like it still might be Alabama and A&M, I guess. Is that right?
Well, they've got the edge right now. For Georgia to get in, Texas A&M has to lose,
or Alabama.
I'm assuming. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if Texas beats Texas A&M, then Georgia's in, or if Auburn beats Alabama, if those two teams and those two teams are the favorites, A&M is a slight favorite over Texas, although that game is in Austin this week. And then Alabama is a much larger favorite over Auburn. So they're both, expected to win. And if they do, they'll play for the championship in the conference next week. And Georgia will be sitting back and getting healthy, getting ready for the playoffs.
See, and I know, and I'm more, my natural inclination is I want to go win that SEC championship. But then as we're looking now how the landscape has changed with football, it would be great to have a bye. And so I'm curious about this. I've not seen it anywhere on social media or YouTube or anywhere, but has any reporter had the cojones to ask Kirby about his thoughts on missing the SEC championship? Because I could only guess that Kirby would I'm assuming the public persona of Kirby Smart is, yes, we want to go, we want to win, but maybe inside he's, here I am trying to second guess Kirby Smart, but he wants to sit out. Have you heard anything? Anybody ask him about that?
Yes, he was asked that at last week's presser.
How did he respond?
Well, I mean, at this point, Georgia, it's out of Georgia's control to get into that game. So that's number one. Mm-hmm. But number two, yes, he would want to play in it and he would want to win it.
Yeah.
There's some financial implications too, I bet, on his contract. If he does go and win, he probably gets a nice little bonus.
That's probably true, right? Some incentive bonuses in there, right? But how does it look?
I mean, pretty soon, Gary, and players might start getting that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. As NIL progresses.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching. I don't know how much you guys watch college basketball, but there were a lot of games on this week. It's Thanksgiving week, so you got a lot of tournaments going on. There's a tournament in Maui going on right now. There's a big thing in Vegas. The what's it called? The Players Era something or another. It's like 20 teams, 18 or 20 teams that are playing in Vegas. And this tournament is an NIL thing. So each team that's there is getting, like, I think it's $1 million towards their NIL budget. And this is for college basketball. So, I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of this type of stuff. The more we go along, and the more NIL grows, and the more opportunities for the students, or student athletes, I guess we can still call them that. I don't know. They're being paid now, so it's almost they're professional athletes. They're being paid for this. But I would expect that we see more of that. You see incentives for winning games. You see additional incentives for winning awards, for going to bowl games or playing in the playoffs.
Just like in the NFL and MLB and NBA and NHL.
Yeah, they all want incentives for performing, but when they don't, do you start subtracting from that?
Well, do they do that in pro sports leagues?
They should.
I mean, they just don't get re-signed. If you don't perform, you still get your money, unless there's some sort of cause thing going on that your contract can be broken. But those guys still get paid. That's the one beauty of athletes and their money. I mean, they get paid up front. Yeah. Like, what have you done yet? Well, this is what I'm expected to do, and here's all that money. Here's $20 million guaranteed on a contract that may be worth I don't know, $35 million or something. But you get 20 of it right away. That's definitely coming your way. And then if you perform well enough, you get the rest of it.
Yeah, or the additional bonuses.
And Scott, talking about the NFL, I think something huge happened before the Charlotte game, and that was Gunnar Stockton participating in the little graduation walk-off there, the senior day celebration. So is that an indication he's going to go pro?
Not necessarily. I think the guys that were eligible to walk, I mean, he could. I mean, he could happen if that's his situation, and if he's got that opportunity, then he's eligible to go into the NFL draft if he so decides that. But he's also has another year of eligibility at Georgia. So, since COVID, we've seen a lot of guys that as soon as I don't have to be here next year if I don't want to. So I guess they make that decision. And if they want to walk out on senior day and see their family and enjoy that moment, then they have that option to do that. But I also don't think it's necessarily an indicator that, okay, I'm done, I'm out of here because I walked on senior day.
Oh man, kind of broke my heart a little bit with that.
These guys move on, right?
Yeah, they do. I know they do. We as a fan of Georgia for 30 plus years or so, this is part of it. This is what happens. You get these guys, and some you want to go, but most, if they make an impact like Gunnar has, and it's been just really one season plus a little bit of the tail end of last year, but. I say it every episode. I'm just a big fan of this kid, the way he presents himself off the field and what he executes on the field as well too. Would love to have him here for another year, as I'm sure a lot of people would. But I mean, when you start throwing those numbers out,
well, that's one of the big things to overcome as sports fans that we are and have been for a long time since we were kids, and at different levels and maybe even different sports. The one thing that's been hard for me to adjust to over decades is the fact that, in the way it used to be, when you had a player on your team, he was there for 4 years.
Yeah. You can count on that. Yeah.
Now, you're lucky if they're here for 4 months. All right, I'm leaving as soon as the season's over. I'm jumping into the portal, and thankfully now there's just one transfer portal period. So maybe that looks a little bit different going down the road, but that was always the great separator for me between college sports and pro sports.
Yeah,
I always knew my team in college. I knew who was going to be next year. Oh, we're bringing in some new players, but I know all the other guys are going to be back, so I still know the team. And the big difference was in pro sports, it changed from year to year or every other year. Your favorite player might be wearing different colors next year. You know, when Dale Murphy got traded to the Phillies.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
That doesn't make any sense, right? No, he's a
that's
Brave.
wrong, man.
That's right.
That's wrong.
Well, if he dares go to the NFL, Vanderbilt's quarterback Diego Pavia still has like 5 years of eligibility. He may transfer into Georgia.
He might be calling you too to sue the NCAA to see, you know, if I can get some more eligibility.
He's
Well,
trying to get NIL money for his mom. I mean, she's
She's made a splash on social, hasn't she?
yeah.
Well, splash, you know, I mean, she's a big lady. She makes a big splash. I'm not going to say anything.
no pun intended, or was it?
But to prevent the splash,
and to deodorize.
Flashback.
All right. Again,
Right,
thank you,
yeah.
PP Face. Thank you, Gary Martin Hayes, ppface.com. There's our.
those are two separate things, by the way.
Yeah, you're a patron of ppface.com, and here it is. But no, the show is, of course, brought to you by the law offices of Gary Martin Hayes and Associates. 1-800-WIN-WIN-1. We'll be cheering on the Dogs. It's a Friday game. 3:30 is what they're promoting it as a kick, but every time Scott jumps in, it's like, what, 3:47 probably? When's the actual kick on
I think it's
Friday?
at 3:45.
3:45, okay.
It's either 3:44 or 3:45. So yeah, that 3:30 stuff, you still have about an extra 15 minutes before the game starts.
But we love all the stuff you're talking about leading up to kick. That gets us fired up for those 15 minutes. And for someone like me listening to the whole tailgate show for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours before the game, I love it. Get you geared up. All right, guys, have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us again, and looking forward to reconnecting with you next week to hopefully talk about another Georgia victory, and go Dogs.
Happy Thanksgiving to both you guys and all your families and everybody that's watching or listening. And yeah, go Dogs. Georgia and Georgia Tech on Friday. Gary.
Gary.
So long, everybody.